Greg Braden, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief. He said that when the laws of physics changed, all of the scientific practices that relied upon those laws should have done so as well. Some did. Mathematics changed. Chemistry changed. But biology and the life sciences didn't. He said, many scientists have refused to change because these changes shake the very foundations of long-held assumptions. Okay? In other words, they might have to start over. They actually might have to start over. Now, it's easy for us to hear that and say, how silly. You know, if the information has changed, you got to change with the information, right? Right? And it's so easy to call them out on that, but what you want to recognize is that they're not that different from us. They're absolutely, look at some of the things that we do in our world. We stay in dead-end jobs. Jobs that we have absolutely no interest in. We stay in them, why? Because, well, I've spent so much time here. My daughter called me once. I've shared this before, but probably with our class. But my daughter called me once, and she said, Mama, guess what? And I said, what? She said, today is my 10th anniversary at my job. And I said, oh, that's wonderful, Erica. And so we talked for a few minutes, and we got off the phone, and I hung up the phone. I said, she hates her job. So what was that all about? The amount of time that she had spent doing something that she totally hates. Think about it. See, because I'm not just talking about her. I'm talking about all of us. What is it that's in our life right now that, that we're looking at, that we are saying, I really don't want this, but I put so much time into it. Look at the relationships. People in abusive relationships, and they stay in those relationships, and they say, well, I put so much time into this. See? We stay in pain, even when we know that there's something that will lift us up out of that pain. Time invested, we use as an excuse. Time invested. I remember Dr. J used to talk about climbing a ladder, climbing to the top of a ladder, only to find out that it's leaning against the wrong wall, and that you spend all this time climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing to the top of this ladder, only to realize that it's leaning against the wrong wall. And at the top of that ladder, he used to tell us, you have a choice as to whether or not you're going to stay at the top of that ladder and complain about being where you are, or are you going to climb down and start over again? Climbing down and starting over again at square one is what living life in reverse is about. And I can tell you, I've done it millions of times. Many times I've had to just climb down and say, nope, this isn't it. And you say, but time invested. Well, the one thing I can tell you about whatever that was is now I know what I don't want. And I'm comfortable with that. It's okay. Now let me find out what it is that I'm ready to experience in life. So it's okay to climb down. It's okay to start at square one. I was sharing with our class Monday night that those of us that are in a teaching like this, a philosophy like this, we have a leg up on previous generations. We have a leg up because, many people over the years have been taught in terms of, again, what I was talking about earlier, all the things that we have to do and how hard it is that we have to work in order to have something new and wonderful in our life. And yet we have some information. We know something. That's the way we like to say it. We know something. See, because what we know is that what we're required to do is to change our belief. Change your mind, change your belief. And yet, this is what's so interesting to me. We refuse to believe something else. We refuse to believe something else. Now, I have to admit, changing a belief is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But it is the answer. It is the answer. Changing a belief, Robert Oxton Bolton said years ago, many years ago, that a belief is not simply an idea that the mind possesses. A belief is an idea, he said, that possesses the mind. So changing that belief, you begin to recognize, number one, the belief is very powerful because it is through our belief that we see. It's through our belief that we have all the experiences in our world. Our belief is airtight. It's going to hand back to us exactly what it is that we believe about life. So belief is very powerful. In fact, science is actually beginning to recognize belief as a science unto itself. But it may not be that easy to change it. See, because if the belief that we now have is based on the information that we've gathered, then a new belief requires that we gather new information. That we take the time. This is the work. This is the work where we gather new information and then be willing to participate in the stage of evolution that this new information supports. That's the work. That's the work. Those of us who need that work ethic, Ernest Holmes said, this is not a something for nothing philosophy. The only difference is that what we demonstrate now, we demonstrate with spiritual and mental coin. That's our belief. But I have to gather new information in order that I shift from trying to get what I want in my life to begin to live from what it is that I want to experience in my life, and then to begin to live as what it is that I want to experience in my life, to recognize that it's already what I am. And how do we do that? By gathering more information. What do? We come to class. We come to class. We come to the center on Sunday, and we listen, and we open, and we allow ourselves to be receptive because we're ready to come down off the ladder. Dr. Holmes reminds us that mind is really the only thing that ever moves. That's it. Mind is the only thing that moves, and then once our mind moves, what? Our world is going to follow it. But I must have additional information because the information that I have now is what's manifesting what I have now in my world. That's my work. And actually it's kind of cool though, because your work is really to remember who you are in relationship to your God being. It's all about us. Remember who I am. So mind is the only thing that moves. But this is so different from the way we were taught. But I have to say this. We have to stop using that as an excuse. That one's kind of played out. You know, I hear it all the time. But Dar, you know, this is what they taught us. But that's not what you're hearing now. Are you willing to let what you're hearing now come through you now? Are you ready to receive what you're hearing now? Are you ready to align yourself with what you're hearing now? Are you ready to hear it with your spiritual ears? Let it come through you now. Let it resonate with your heart now, because you remember, this is who I am. That's what I forgot. I've been out here looking for dinner, and dinner's on the table. So this whole thing of living life in reverse is what we're being told. I remember Stretton Smith said it really beautifully. He said it's not setting things right. It's seeing things rightly.